What's up, Aries? Welcome to your September 2020 Creativity Tarot reading. My name is Kayleigh Jean, and welcome to my channel. I record these readings for artists, entrepreneurs, and anyone who's working on their personal growth, self-expression, or spirituality in any form. So if those areas of life are intriguing or important for you right now, I encourage you to go ahead and keep listening. I also want to say really briefly for those who are new to my channel that I do these readings with the intention that you can use them for your sun, moon, or your rising sign. So maybe give all three a listen, maybe just one. If you find that one of them resonates with you, no need to keep going, but I always find that it's interesting to kind of get a sense of like where your energy sits within the collective. So sometimes that can be helpful to listen to all three. Okay, Aries, let's get into your reading. While I do any reading, I always meditate first, and I like to tune in and see what messages can come through just spiritually and intuitively. And for you, I was getting this impression of actually someone kind of like looking up at, like, just upward, like in that my vision they were sort of looking at the sky, but it was almost more like, you know, when someone looks up and you can see that they're kind of visualizing something. Like when you look upward, there's almost like a sense of like inner sight that's happening. They're not really looking up, but at something up above them, but they're kind of in their own imagination. So I was seeing someone doing that and then feeling really excited about it, and then kind of feeling almost like, holy crap, like what am I doing with this? Like, is this, it's almost like this feeling of hesitation that comes up like immediately after a feeling of excitement. And one of the ways that they were showing this to me was almost like a bunch of bats like coming out of a cave. That was like the vision that came up along with the hesitation. So when I try and just decode this into common English for you, Aries, what actually feels the most accurate is that you might be afraid of trolls. You might be afraid of criticism. You might be afraid of, if you have a big idea for yourself or for your life, maybe for a project or a direction that you want to take things in, there could be in September this really strong feeling of passion within you, but then almost a fear of like, oh, but what are people going to say? Or a lot of people are going to hate that. Or maybe you just expect that to be the case. And, you know, sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. We can tend to have expectations that can be overly pessimistic. And sometimes we get proven wrong, which is always nice, right? If we think that something is going to have a strong negative reaction and it doesn't, like, it's surprising in a positive way. But I also feel that sometimes we think something negative will come of something, and it's true. Maybe we do put ourselves out there and we get a lot of hate and we get a lot of intolerance, you know, back at us. But the silver lining in that situation is that you tend to realize that everything is okay still, you know? And I think that's a powerful place to be, Aries. It's a powerful place to be in terms of your ability to just be yourself, regardless of whatever disagreements are going to come your way as a result of that. And recognizing that that you do have that ability to completely trust your own compass, even if you are getting that criticism. You know, I think it's just something that all around is going to empower you to live more in the way that you want to live in general. And it will make your voice stronger and more clear. So that's the message, Aries. I hope that's helpful for you. Let's go ahead and take a look at your cards. All right, so let's get into this, Aries. Clear line guidance for Aries. Clear line guidance for Aries. Please, Spirits, give us clear line guidance for Aries. Okay. Aries, Aries. Okay, and I'm also going to get you a Bob Ross message. And I'm going to get you a Destiny Oracle card for Aries, Sacred Destiny Oracle, and a card from the Surrender Oracle. This is, you're getting the deluxe treatment this month, Aries. Alright, so we've got our oracles over here. Now I want to take a look at your Animal Spirit Oracle cards because these really show us the path and the influence or obstacle. So we have the gazelle with the fire ant. Interesting. So again, wow, this is so spot on with the energy that I was picking up for you guys in meditation. The gazelle as your path. This is, both of these are fire creatures, so it fits with your energy, Aries, in a way, like you are kind of able to be at home within this energy because you're a fire sign, and both of these are fire creatures, and creatures that can stand the heat, right? And you're a sign that can stand the heat because you experience it and you move past it. You're not one for, like, I mean, depending on what else you have in your chart, obviously, but you're typically not assigned to, you know, hold things in and bottle it in and then like explode at some point. You usually kind of try and like face things head on and talk about it so that you don't have to hang on to it, because you don't like hanging on to resentments and grudges. And in general, you know, again, depending on what other things you have in your chart, the archetype of Aries is more of a fighter archetype, but the good thing about that is that people know where you stand typically. So you're just honest, and if you want to speak some kind of truth, it's generally not going to be something that's super easy for you to kind of let go of. You need to just like say it and then move past it, and you don't hold grudges. But when we look at these cards, it does feel like you could be feeling a little bit more sensitive in September. So this makes sense because we actually have in September, right in the beginning of the month on the 2nd, we have a Pisces full moon, which is for you in your 12th house. So when you have a full moon in your 12th house, it's definitely more of an introspective, introverted, spiritual kind of energy. Typically, it tends to bring up feelings of privacy, feelings of wanting to like deal with things on your own, because when other people point them out, it doesn't necessarily feel as good. It's like, you know already like what you're working on in yourself. So when you have a full watery moon in your 12th house, that can kind of be a little bit more of a vulnerable time for an Aries. And so just being aware of that, I feel like this gazelle as your path is showing this kind of exquisite sensitivity to life, and you're going to be in touch with your emotions. You're going to be in touch with how you really feel about things. And the only problem that I see is that the fire ant card is showing that there's a potential for kind of like intense interactions with other people. So people could be kind of nitpicking you, or you could feel that they are. Maybe they're not necessarily doing that for certain, but you just feel that way. Or you just really are feeling the demands of your social circle or your colleagues or your family members. You're just feeling their demands pretty viscerally, and feeling like maybe if someone criticizes you, it kind of feels a little bit more striking and a little bit more getting you in that vulnerable place than usual. But I think this is something to just be aware of, Aries. I don't see this as being something that like becomes this situation where it breaks your spirit or whatever. I don't feel that at all. I feel like this is a very actually thoughtful time, and I feel like you can actually make a lot of progress in terms of deepening your relationships with others and with yourself, but you need to be just gentle on yourself at this time. So let's take a look at your tarot cards and we'll get some more information. So we've got Three of Wands with the Star, the Empress, and the Ace of Wands. We have Justice, Nine of Swords with the High Priestess and the Moon. Fascinating. Okay. So, this is interesting because you're going to have your full moon, your full moon in Aries on October 1st. So look at this. We have the Moon card right at the end of September, right before October 1st, showing that. And the Empress, the High Priestess is also ruling or ruled by the Moon. So there's a lot of lunar energy coming in at the end of September. Up until that point, I feel like you are in a very visionary stage. So let's kind of break down this energy week by week, and then we'll look at your oracles. The first week of September is very much about experiencing some kind of rebirth or a cleansing when it comes to your plans for yourself. And this is something that I can never recommend enough. I feel like we don't, as modern humans, we don't really think enough about the trajectory that we've set out for ourselves. Like, most of us have kind of a vague idea of what we want in life, but that's not really what I'm talking about here. I'm more talking about almost like a plan or like a detailed sense of like, this is a life that, like, this is like a projected life that I feel would have meaning for me, right? Like, sorry, Aries. I feel like when these two cards come up together, it really is about like touching back into the water of your inspiration for your future. So that would be a really good use of your time in the first week of September if you have some time off, Aries, and if the weather permits in your area, I would say like maybe bring your journal and a pen and go on a hike, preferably somewhere where there's going to be water or maybe a view of water. But I feel like there's something about being able to go out into nature and record your thoughts about your future and what you want to do for yourself and what would bring meaning to your life. Because life is really, it's very difficult, and there's no way around the suffering of life. Like, we're all going to experience suffering as we grow along our journey. And one of the ways to, I guess, make sense of that is to really look at what means something to us, right? Like, if we feel that we are showing up and genuinely doing something that is constructive or fruitful, productive, supportive, if we are able to show up in ways that leave the world kind of better than it was when we found it, even in small ways, right? I'm not talking about needing to like have a savior mentality of the world or anything like that, but it's more like just being able to be there for our family or our friends or maybe our clients or whoever we are positively impacting. Maybe it's the environment and nature or rescuing animals or fostering people or creatures. It's like finding those things that give you a sense of that it's worth, living, that it's worth living life, and that life feels like something that matters to you in a very deep way that can't really be shaken up by, the ups and downs of life. Like, it's always going to be there. So think about that. I mean, it's a very deep, introspective, I guess, homework that I gave you, Aries, but I think it'd be really useful. So going out in nature, bringing a notebook, if you can at some point in September, preferably in the first week or two, will be really useful for you. Now, in the second week of September, we have the Ace of Wands and the Empress. So these two cards together are intensely creative. We have the feminine creative principle with the Empress, so she represents nature as well as, the vessel of material reality. Even you can look at it as our physical body, it's our temple. And then the wand represents kind of like the spark of life. It's like the inspiration, which is like the breath, it's that urge to create, that urge to manifest something in the physical world. And so there is this kind of divine spark that we see happening with these cards in the second week of September. You have all of the conditions are ripe for some kind of very creative phase. So some of you could be working on a creative project and just feeling so alive with it, so in tune with it, and just really getting, the words out onto the page or the paint onto the canvas, whatever it may be. Maybe you're building a website or a business or expanding your offerings, but there's a very powerful creative energy for you in the second week of September. So I just recommend riding that wave. The third week of September, you have the Nine of Swords with Justice. So, it's a very airy, kind of swordsy week, because the Justice card also is holding up a sword, right? And we've got the Nine of Swords, obviously, with more swords. So one of the things I could kind of see there, and we do have the new moon in Virgo that week on September 17th. So that's going to be also a little bit more of a detail-oriented, organized kind of energy. For many of us, it's going to be quite a mental energy for many of us, and also pragmatic energy. And for you, that's coming in the sixth house of your basic Aries chart. Sixth house relationship is what Aries has to Virgo. So basically, you've got in your sixth house this new moon, which is like a new beginning when it comes to career stuff, but also, your health and your daily life, your daily chores, that kind of thing. So it kind of feels to me like there's some kind of recalibration that needs to happen in the third week of September for you, perhaps right around that new moon in Virgo. You're going to probably feel as though you have to adjust and make adjustments in your lifestyle in some way. And this could be an adjustment that you feel like prompted to make because you're suffering from some kind of anxiety over it. It's like I almost kind of feel like you're worrying, like, is this thing that I'm doing bad for me? Is this thing I'm doing bad for me? Like, is this bad? Is this bad? Like, it's like you're kind of thinking about it over and over again. And then the Justice card is like, well, just make the adjustment. The Justice card is saying, like, you're recognizing that something's out of balance here, so shift it. And it's a very, like, point blank energy. It's a very neutral force. It's not like hugging you and giving you this like warm, cozy feeling necessarily, but it's more like, that's like a feeling of relief because you recognize the neutrality of the situation and how, like, well, if you have to make a change, you might as well just make the change. So definitely I see something like that. The last week of September, like we touched on, comes in with a very strong lunar energy for you. And this is not surprising, but it is very interesting, given that you do have your full moon in Aries coming up on October 1st. So the week prior to October 1st, you're going to be feeling that like new moon energy, or that full moon energy, pulling you. It's going to be pulling at you because you're going to start to feel a draw towards yourself. Like you're going to start to feel like you need to spend a little bit more time alone, I'm going to say. Or some of you could invest in some sessions with a therapist or a counselor, because that can also be a meaning of the High Priestess. Somebody who can really help you with the inner world kind of things that you have going on, and how to really translate those into changes in your outer life that are going to help you feel better, because I feel like you're kind of dealing with some anxieties, or you're sort of in the process during the second half of this month. You're very much in the process of like resolving something having to do with either your mental health or just a situation that has stressed you out. And so you're like, you know what, I'm not going to be bothered by like worrying about this anymore. I'm just going to take the actions I need to take to resolve it. So it's kind of liberating. Let's take a look at your Sacred Destiny Oracle card. Wow, you've got Miracle. That's so beautiful. I love the light, the like prisms of rainbow colors on here. So there is this like kind of spark, I guess, of magic going on for you, Aries. There's like hope. Yeah, that's, I guess, the right word for it. Now let's take a look at your surrender card. Wow. It says surrender to complete healing. Open fully to the loving, compassionate forces of the universe that support your physical, emotional, and spiritual healing. Super, super lovely. So again, that kind of speaks to this. I feel like this is what you're healing, and it's unique to each one of you, but it's whatever has been causing this. So it could be an outer situation in your life that you've been burdening yourself over, stressing over. It could be something internally because you do have some 6th house energies this month, which do have to do with health. Could be about resolving that. And let's take a look at your Bob Ross message. Anytime you learn, you gain. Every experience teaches us, Aries. Every experience gives us more understanding and knowledge of ourselves and of the world. And if we use that knowledge wisely, that's how you advance, on a personal level, even on outer levels of generating success for yourself. It's all about really gaining the lessons from your life, like really piecing out and really deeply meditating on the mistakes that you've made, because each one of those is actually gold for you. Each one of those mistakes is actually something that can provide, untold blessings for you in your future. So with that, I will leave you, Aries. I hope this reading has been helpful. Please let me know if you have any feedback in the comments. I would love to hear from you guys. I'm sending you so much love. If you'd like to sign up for the Professional Tarot Healers training, I will put the information below the video. Sending you all so much love and blessings for September. Take care, and I will talk to you next time.